Thank you, Nirupam ma'am, for such a motivating speech. Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, before getting into policies and boardroom, I would like to start with a simple, plain facts that I'm a mother of 2-year-old, and I'm still juggling, balancing between the demanding job like, mine, and to ensure that she's taken care of. According to me, the real question is not that whether women can participate. The question is that whether we have a system designed to ensure that they are thriving. So let me start from Mandira by asking you that, you know, uh, this hybrid culture, work from home, it's a recent phenomena, I would say. But do you think that women are coming back to the same force when they actually, left it there, especially after maternity, when they come back to work?
Absolutely. I think in corporate India has also seen this shift over the last few years. If you ask me about, the early 2000 period, the infrastructure, as you rightly said, was not really entirely in favor of women rejoining the workforce. But that is when corporate India really shifted and began a lot of return to work initiatives, welcome, second inning initiatives, and really made it very, very comfortable for the women, and also created that environment in the workforce where they would feel welcome and they would feel like their flexibility needs would be addressed. My most recent conversations with women are that they're eager and they're waiting to come back. So we have seen this shift. Of course, there are those individual cases where lack of support system prohibits women from rejoining, but I think the desire to be back and contribute, but most importantly, the desire to be fulfilled vocationally and to feel like their skills and their entire career and education journey is also being realized while balancing a new role as a mother. So the trend is definitely shifting. Corporate India has made a lot of initiatives through proactive partnerships with creches, making sure the policies are flexible, making sure the timings, transport, all these facilities are available. It's still a journey. We have miles to go. But the shift is towards making sure more and more women feel enabled, feel welcomed after they're coming back for the workforce. And the one thing that I've realized has made the biggest difference to women returning in my organization is that how are we treating that last month when we know that they have to come back from leave? Are we giving them that call and push to say, we're waiting for you in the organization. We know you will have special needs. What is it? How are you thinking? How are you making that arrangements? A little gesture like making sure that desks are decorated and there's a welcome message when they're back. I think these signals are more and more what we need to do as corporate India as well.
Well, I'm sure that the perception is shifting in corporate India, but there are a lot of sectors out there where hybrid culture is still being judged because visibility still matters. When you are seen in the office, there is a perception, oh, you're working more. If you are working from home, or maybe you are in a full work from home or hybrid culture, the perception is different. That still exists, do you think? And somewhere holding back from women coming from a break to take on the leadership role?
I also have been through the journey myself, right? So I won't say that there aren't days when you feel like you're walking on hot coals. There are always those days. But I would say that the hybrid culture is in place today only to enable this. And let's not kind of only look at it as maternity. The majority of exception requests that we are getting, even around the hybrid culture, are for special stages, for people who have elder care needs also. They are also equally important requests. They are also with people sometimes recovering or are themselves or a family member is in a critical life health situation. And that's where we are warming up to make sure that a woman's request for exception in a hybrid culture is not unique, not alone, but a part of a larger need for all of us to manage our life stage events with care and with the concern it requires. there are days, the world is not devoid of judgment. Absolutely not. There are people who are willing to look at the slightest miss and use that as an excuse. But when we look at it in a larger context of all that we go through in our life journey, this becomes still a battle that I'm confident we can win.
But paychecks are always important, be it men or women. So how are you kind of actually check if men and women are being paid equally?
Absolutely. I think this is where the rubber hits the road. If there is one point where the whole story needs to be checked and judged, it is on the pay equity piece. And that is a critical role as an organization. This entire trend has become more regulatory and compliance driven since UK had started this trend of a gender parity report, and all multinational corporations are moving that towards. We are seeing the gap widen from a wide gap to a narrow gap. Today, even at senior level roles, latest research suggests that 16% equivalent gap still exists. And we're starting to benchmark critical roles. We're starting to make sure that we have catch-up plans in place. But what we are helping women with most, and that's an important advice I want to say, is negotiation skills. When we're at that table, are we negotiating hard for ourselves because we believe we deserve better, or are we just accepting what comes our way?
So we continue to negotiate hard, I assume.
Absolutely.
Let me go across to Aditi. You've been in the manufacturing space and wanted to understand how things work when it comes to leadership role in manufacturing, because it's a tricky sector. You need to be out there, you need to be physically present. How are you ensuring that in that sector?
So manufacturing sector is also divided into many perspectives. If you see, when we look at manufacturing, we always think about only the machines. But if you see, we have pharma, we have medical, and many other agriculture, which is where we're doing manufacturing. The thing is that from the very beginning at home, we have not been taught to look at working in factories as one of the options. Our academia doesn't talk about that as an option. And hence, when you keep going upward, you see that you are one of those very few who actually stand out as, a complete non-conformist that you want to go and work in the shop floors. Today, if you look at the way our machine working and our shop floors have become, they've become very women-friendly. So, one thing is that as a choice, do I want to work in the shop floor and hence grow in the leadership? Because if you have to run a company which is a manufacturing company, it's a mandate for you to actually work in a plant. You need to know the basics. I think for a very large portion of our career, women try to avoid working in the shop floors, or they have been avoided to work in the shop floors because the shop floor conditions expect you to be at a particular time there. You have to be time bound because machines work on time, and then you have to travel, and then there are night shifts and there are second shifts. So if you are able to cross all these roadblocks because that is your ambition to be successful in that arena, then this hardship will be for men and women both. I always say, you have to be in this sector, you have to play this game by the rule what has been there for the men, because this is a men's sector. You cannot differentiate constantly in your head that I'm a woman, so treat me differently, but give me the same paycheck. I'm a woman, give me promotion, but don't expect me to work night shift. I'm a woman, please treat me, don't put me in because it's very hot. You need to present yourself as a talent and not as a gender.
No, absolutely. There has to be parity. It never be on the gender basis. Of course, if you want to go up in the ladder, you have to work what company requirements are, and being it's any sector, not necessarily manufacturing, because every sector has its own challenges. I'll come to you in a bit, but let me ask Nirupama ma'am, quite a speech you have given, and somewhere I got this feeling that we shouldn't be tagging women as superwomen, because I think a lot of people take advantage of that, and I personally believe and I experienced that. I wanted to ask, you are coming from the health sector. How much health is important from the perspective of that all those government schemes which, government did work, a lot of them out there, is it reaching to the end consumer? Is it reaching to the end target?
Well, Shrimi, I don't know if you know this, but the health sector is dominated by, it's the sector with the largest amount of females, okay? If you look at our nursing, almost 90% is female. We have men coming up now, and it's a very welcome state of affairs. But on the whole, women make up about 70% of the healthcare force in any country. It's a little less in India. In India, it's mostly focused on nurses, but now we have technical staff, technicians and all, who are women. We have a lot of them coming up. Of course, doctors are there, and we all know that there's been 50% reservation in the past decade. But even without the reservation, this sector saw a lot of women. And this sector was also one of the first to implement all the facilities and all the laws created for women. I'll give you an example. You have the, you have to have abortion leave, and you have to have mat leave. And this is one sector which follows it religiously. And of course, it does not impact the lady's position when she comes back or her future promotional avenues. It does not impact them at all. And in fact, I'm talking about AIIMS, what we also do is that after the lady comes back, if she wants some further leave to take care of her child, because we know the child is small, we let her take almost 3 months child care leave if she asks for it. She has to ask for it, of course, but then we give it to her readily. For another 3 months, we make sure that at least till the child is 1 year of age, she's quite comfortable. In addition, what we are trying to do now, and this is something which I hope our government will take up eventually, is set up milk banks. We've just gotten in touch with an NGO as part of this. They're willing to collaborate with us in opening up a milk bank, which will further help working women if they have to leave for work and they need to feed their child. And of course, we have creches. I'm sure many private organizations also have creches. But we have one at AIIMS, and these are some of the things which are really helping ladies on the way.
I'm sure, ma'am, and you mostly talking about what is happening inside the health sector. I'm just wanted to understand where all those schemes which government has, introduced to help women in all sort of, life, especially from the health perspective, are they reaching to the end user? I'm talking not just urban women, I'm talking about the rural women. Is it reaching out there or not?
If you consider statistics, ma'am, if I look at the OPD of any hospital, or if I look at the health-seeking behavior of the Indian community, it is still hugely tilted towards men. The ratio of patients in the outpatient department is about 65 to 35 in favor of men. So health-seeking behaviors are still not as popular among women as they are among men. But we see that at least in the urban areas, women are catching up. They do come to the hospital now. But you see, a lot of our women are also daily wagers. So that's another problem. It's making a difference, yes. The ASHA scheme has made a whole lot of difference in the rural setup, because if ladies do not come to hospitals, the hospital goes to the lady. I think that's also helped hugely.
I'm sure, and AIIMS I'm sure AIIMS will be participating and playing an integral role in this entire thing. I'm sure about that.
Well, we are curative, not preventive, but we do our best.
Pragya, my question to you on the sustainability, because we talk about the perception changing, perception shifting, but how we actually making jobs sustainable for women?
When I reflect on your question, I would want to go back to the title of today's session, which is Viksit Bharat. So the question that we need to ask collectively now is why now and what we need to do differently. We have to move beyond business as usual, and I would just sort of throw light on some of the facts which we've been hearing since morning as to India has set itself up for a very ambitious target, a Vision 2047, where we want to bring in 400 million women into workforce. We want to build an economy which is as huge, and if the stipulations goes, women alone can add $14 trillion of that 30 trillion economy, which means that women's participation is, of course, it doesn't require any pitching to say that women in workforce is for sure an economic gain. But what we have been hearing our colleagues this morning and other panel members, that women also bring the social benefits. So in between that journey from skilling, which is enabling the women to get into the workforce, to getting into the work, there are few layers that we must address as an ecosystem, right? And because without that, it's not possible to sustain. You talked about sustainability, right? So when we are saying it's not as simple as skill women and they get in the job force, it's in between that space where we have to enable, whether it's creches or other ecosystem hostels that we've been talking about. It's the idea of safety, mobility, and most importantly, the mindset. So we today, India needs something, like, it's not like we sit and talk and find out strategies as to what will get there. But when we do talk about the strategy, we need to ask ourselves that how do we bring in partnerships? So whether it's industries, whether it's government, whether it's civil society, and most importantly, that woman, whether she's in a rural setting or a tier 2 urban layer, she has access and opportunities, and that can be bridged through awareness, which also needs to be there. So today we need abhiyans, like, or what India has experienced and shown is a Jan Andolan of sorts. Like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao moved the needle on how the value of girl is aspired for and is asserted in the public domain. Swachh Bharat did shift the needle from infrastructure agenda to making it public consciousness and pride. When we talk about polio, it was beyond vaccines. Polio required building a movement to trust building across the last mile. So I think sustainability, to kind of sum it all together, we need the power of partnerships. We need connectors from what is the, like pledging from industry associations and corporate sector. We need civil society to create that connect between policy designs to people. We need governments. This is not an isolated agenda, and women in workforce must become everyone's priority, and government can add scale and convergent model, because it's not just one ministry, one department, but how all of us come together. Partnerships horizontally and vertically, and we need women at the forefront, because unless we do all of this together, we cannot reach there. So that's the North Star, 400 million women in workforce, and how do we get them there with care and all the enabling support that they need.
Indeed, a very important point of campaign you brought up, and in fact, it's very important to create awareness. I think we as a country need lot of awareness on lot of front. But tell me one thing, that where do you feel that there are still work to do in terms of policies to have a real impact? Where do the policies are falling short?
I would say, policies, India, if we take our example, is one of the most progressive nations when we look at policy designs. We have experienced many firsts in our country, whether it was right to work, whether it was right to education. It's enshrined in our constitution. So I wouldn't say it's a gap, but where we need to do the work done, and which also I covered in the previous question's response, is that policy must meet people. So policy design must reach the people and lived experience of people. If the policy aspires, or a vision aspires to get 400 million women walking to another decade, we need a decade dedicated to India's women, daughters, mothers, sisters, in all their roles. I think we need a decade dedicated to women. And we need to plug that gap as to, from policy to design, how does it move to partnership? So when we talk about that whole scale of build, activate, scale, and sustain, we are at a very crucial tipping point where all the efforts are happening in the isolated, strong efforts, but independently. This is where we need to bring everything together. The time is for coalescing, because we are not talking about business as usual, we are talking about Vision 2047, cut to 10 years from now. What does the reality look like? And I would just end with one line, Shrimi, to say that we together have to build a future with people in this room and outside, whether they're a part of the system, industries, organizations like ourselves, or individual women, to build a future where opportunities are not limited based on our gender. It's unthinkable, and we reach the future where it's irreversible reality whereby gender is not limiting. So I think together we need to build that connect from the system to the people, and that's where we need to bring in those levels of partnerships which has been unprecedented, and build an abhiyan or a Jan Andolan for women's participation in workforce. Stop there.
Totally agreed, and in fact, we need to, come together to achieve a target. Let me go across to Roma. Roma, you're coming from a manufacturing setup. Just wanted to understand that all we are talking here mostly about the urban women, white-collar jobs. What's your perspective on the informal jobs? Women coming from the, who are blue collar, all those work, how you are seeing that, and what kind of changes do you think that we should bring in to have equality there as well?
So I think that for the blue collar jobs, we need to build the systems according to their the safety of the women, and yeah. Okay. So can you repeat the questions?
Just wanted to understand that we all talking about the white collar job and the career progression when it comes to mostly urban women. How are you ensuring that the similar sort of perception shift should come in the blue collar job as well? From the women perspective, of course.
Yeah, basically we need to build systems according to the women's safety and according to their requirements, the way they are, because every time the life of a woman is transforming, sometimes she's playing as a wife, sometimes she's playing as a mother, so we should consider everything, and we should always give them environment which is suitable for them to work. It is not about the ability of the women, but I think it is more about the environment they're working in. The environments are not suitable. For example, in the manufacturing units, you will not find women working on the factory floors because we don't think that they're capable, and we don't trust them that they will be with us for a longer period of time. We're always thinking that, oh, they might, leave, and they might leave the jobs. So we are not giving them important roles and responsibilities. Since we think that, oh, she has to be a mother, she'll leave any time, and so we need to build systems according to that. We need to build strategies according to that, and we need to consider their special needs for women, and we should work accordingly.
Good. Yeah, I was about to come on that especially on the wages, how the manufacturing sector is like when it comes to blue collar job.
So before this, let me answer what question you asked her. See, today if you see, these factories are becoming human agnostic. There's lots of infrastructure which is getting built up through AI, ML, through digitization. There are humanoids, there are cobots, there are robots. So the factories are becoming very much like, how you see the Legoland. So all the additional physical labor which we were earlier thinking, except for some industries like casting, forging, or if you go to the mining. However, I worked in mining with lots of women in Vedanta. If you see, even underground mines have lots of women working there. So companies are constantly making it human agnostic, and hence it becomes very easy for any gender to work there. Men, women, and other gender can go and work there. What enables them to be in the shop floor is, the washroom facilities, the psychological safety that we provide to them. Do they have a kind of group of people who can listen to them? Do they have transport to take them there? and all other policies like part-time working, work from home, uh, during their maternity, identifying places which is where they can be, put for the time so that we can take care of their physical need during maternity, having the daycares where they can then feed their kids, they can bring them. So these are the things which industry is doing. And whichever companies are doing that, you can see shop floors have more than 50% gender diversity because they bring lots of consistency.
So you're seeing that changes clearly.
That changes.
I want Pragya to respond on this as well. On the part of wages, we have seen the labor codes out there, addressing a lot of issues related to blue collar, gig workers, etc. Do you also feel that shift is coming, not just on one sector or, limited to only few companies, but overall that mindset is changing?
So I think too early to say this just yet, because labor codes were unified into 4, very progressive if you look at how it covers within its ambit the gig workers, the informal sector. But I've yet to see in terms of what are the notifications and regulations that the state governments take on to provide, whether it's health insurance. So we are yet to see what those safety nets for the informal sector truly look like. Too early to say, I would imagine, but this is a great, if you were to look at it from the lens of adhikar or rights of individuals, it's extremely progressive because it covers those who were earlier outside of that safety net. So extremely progressive on the part of the law and the system, but how it translates, again, what we were talking about earlier, that the real test of any policy is how it reaches people and how it actually ensures that they are brought within the ambit of safety, rights and protection, as it were, men and women alike.
Absolutely. Aditi, I wanted to understand from you here, from the manufacturing point of view, because you rightly said that there are people on shop floors, etc. But how could you kind of give mentorship to, people, especially women, when they are coming from a long break? How mentorship plays a role here, and I'll come to you, Mandira, also on this, on the mentorship, but give me your take on that first.
So I'll tell you, there are 2 types of people who work in manufacturing setup. One are the people who work in the offices, they are also white collar, and one people who work in the shop floors who are also white collar. We see disparate, to your previous question, we do not see disparity in their paycheck when it is the blue collar, because that is very much regularized by the Factory Act and Bombay Shop Act and all that stuff. The disparity actually starts once you go to white collar, and then that's where type of job sometimes differentiates the people, men, women both, by the way. Type of job differentiates their paycheck. When people come after a long break, I think what you said, that how we are welcoming them from the day they left rather than the day they have come back, that is very, very important. I was working with one company, which is where we used to say that if a woman has gone on maternity and she will be coming after 6 months, by the way, India was at 3 months, the company went to 6 months. After 6 months, the grading we used to take from the before 6 months. So these are the kind of things which we will provide to them. And when they're back, we all women can understand that, we get into a guilt mode. You're leaving the family, you're leaving the child behind, then you're at guilt that you're not providing enough. You're at guilt at work also that you're not providing enough. And that is where taking care of their guilt, clearly calling out the career aspiration, and also making them understand it's okay if you go a little slow here, because this is where you need to pay attention to yourself and your family. I think that hand-holding is very important, because when you are in the corporate, from head you start thinking in a very, very competitive way. And you start seeing, what, he was with me, he was in the same class, he's become this. You need to sit with the woman and say, it's okay. You, at the end of the day, it's going to be the women till we come up with some other facility. It will be the women who will be giving birth to child. So be nice to yourself, have clearly call out goals, take a pause, and then move. So these are few things which we do.
Music in the ear, actually. But Mandira,
I think we all decide our own pace, and there's no harm in running fast either.
No. In terms of your career growth, it takes a hit if we go slow after coming from a break, and break could be anything, not necessarily maternity, but can women afford to go slow?
We all define success differently. We really do. Our career growth is what we believe is where we want to be at that life stage, right? As long as we feel emotionally fulfilled, that our skills are getting the returns and the commensurate respect in the external world, we are where we are. And you also asked a very important question about mentoring. I think that's not optional at all. If any woman is taking time from family, and I also live with this feeling personally, where sometimes I feel that my career feels like borrowed time away from family. But if we are making that conscious call of stepping into the workforce, we want to make it count. And the way to make it count is having not one but multiple mentors in the organizations that we work with and outside the organizations also. And believe me, it's not mentors who give us the reassurance sometimes we need, but the mentors who challenge us.
Essentially, who is your lead, who is your team leader, is also play a huge role here.
There's a manager and there's a mentor, right?
Mentorship is something which it's inbuilt in the company, that okay, women is coming from a long break, we should provide this, certain tick boxes, but a team leader where the person has to deal with on a regular basis. That understanding has to be there. That shift you are seeing in the corporate culture today?
Absolutely, because like we all talked about, that infrastructure outside to make us be successful in the workplace, that's the infrastructure we need to build inside the organization for us to succeed. So that on those days where we really need counsel, there is that mentorship available for us.
Okay. I'm going to have a quick rapid fire for all of you. Hope you all are fine. Basic questions. One policy that actually works, not on paper but in reality.
In my life, the policy of having a sponsor for the good talent and then making sure that we take them to where she or he wants, that has worked for me.
Okay. Two more actually. One workplace myth we need to kill immediately. All the three.
One workplace myth which we should kill immediately. If you're talented, you will get it. It doesn't matter which gender you are.
Fair point. One change you want to see in next 2 years.
We need to educate the, I was sharing with her that, there is 1 decade which is gone to educate people to empower women. But we forgot to empower men to say how to work with empowered women. I think that is something which we need to work on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ma'am, Nirupam ma'am, quickly, one policy that actually works, not on paper but in reality.
I think the
I would
Maternity
take a
Benefits
pause
Act has
and
worked.
Just last one.
okay.
I personally think
I would
the
like to
MBS has
invite
worked.
somebody on the dais to share the dais with you.
Just let me finish that.
All right. Okay, you're talking about government policies?
No, I'm just talking about one policy that actually works not on paper but in reality. Any policy you think is
I
there?
think the Maternity Benefits Act has worked.
Absolutely. One workplace myth we need to kill immediately.
Isolated places for women are safe for them. I don't think they are. I think it's better if people are together, because I've always found the men in the organization are actually a safety net for the women.
Last one change you want to see in next 2 years.
I think there I agree with Aditi. It's actually the men changing their reaction to women in the workplace.
Well, I wish I could take other, the rapid fire, but we are short on time. So that's the wrap of this very interesting conversation, ladies and gentlemen, mostly ladies actually I could see. Thanks a lot for sharing your insight and your experience. I'm sure that will help all the women out there who is juggling at this point of time. Thank you very much.